From KREM 2, this is breaking news.
10:35 on the clock right now. We are joining you with some breaking news this morning. We have received reports of a shooting at Freeman High School. Police have confirmed a shooting at or near Freeman High School right now.
We will continue to monitor this situation, and as we said, multiple crews from KREM 2 News on the way right now, so we expect to be checking in here shortly. Also, you can monitor all our platforms on our Facebook page as well as our Twitter pages, and we'll keep you updated on what's happening.
This is a photo just coming in of students. It says all Freeman Elementary currently, or at Freeman Elementary currently. I am a junior, evacuated from high school, at least 4 shots. We have multiple reporters headed to that scene. Right now we have KREM 2's Amanda Rowley joining us on the phone. Amanda, what can you tell us?
Hey, good morning, guys. I am with our photographer at Brett Albury. We're on Route 27, State Highway 27. On our way here, we've actually seen at least 3 ambulances pass by us heading to the high school, and behind us we saw quite a few cars piled up behind us, kind of heading in the same direction. A few officers have passed us as well. We're just nearly there. We're approaching the scene. I can see quite a few emergency responders lighting up the roadway.
But I just got onto the site here at Freeman High School. What I can tell you is that there's law enforcement and first responders basically lining the road here for miles. I'm going to step out of the way, actually, so you can look at what I'm seeing here, but you can see that the entire high school here is blocked off with caution tape, and law enforcement is blocking off the main entrance here to the high school. But since I've been here, and that's only been a few minutes, we've seen an armored SWAT vehicle enter, as well as other law enforcement vehicles.
And you can see from our shot here, these are very concerned parents, family members, trying to find out exactly, people hugging outside the school. Very emotional, very upset right now. This is Spokane Valley Fire Department. Students on lockdown, reports of multiple shot, police clearing school with fire and EMS rescue crews providing trauma care. So we do want to take a moment right now and send it over to Brittany Bailey. She is tracking things on social media. And Brittany, it is so hard to keep up with because there are multiple sources, multiple people. What are you seeing?
Well, that's right, Laura. As you are mentioning, you're seeing a lot on social media. A lot of it is speculation about what has exactly happened, which, of course, we have not yet confirmed yet. Again, we're talking about the scene at Freeman High School. And I think if you look at the scene, the live pictures we're seeing from the scene this morning, and it's frenzied parents, obviously so worried right now. That's sort of what you're seeing on social media. A lot of people asking questions. There you're seeing also a lot of people sharing thoughts and prayers. They're hearing from this across the country even. It's now been on national media networks as well.
We have few official details right now. We're still waiting to hear from law enforcement. As you can imagine, they're very busy right now. A lot of law enforcement. I've seen Spokane County out here. I've seen local law enforcement, as well as several fire trucks and emergency responders are here. But I'm going to step aside and we're going to show you just what it's looking like in front of Freeman High School. We've been here for about an hour, and parents just keep on coming.
Sacred Heart just confirming there are 2 patients now at that location in stable condition. That's our first indication that we've heard of injuries in this case, but Sacred Heart confirming 2 patients in stable condition.
Spokane Fire Chief Brian Schaefer, he's standing right next to me. We're waiting to get some information from him right now.
And you can imagine the amount of emotion that is occurring right now. Many of the employees of the school, the firefighters themselves, all have kids that go here. So I apologize for the delay in getting out here, but it's a pretty difficult situation. We know that there was an active shooter inside Freeman School. The shooter, the threat from the shooter has been eliminated.
We did not know when we heard the threat had been eliminated. We didn't know what that meant. Well, now we do. The suspect in the shooting at Freeman High School is in custody right now. That just coming in and being confirmed by law enforcement.
What have you learned since we last checked in with you about 30 minutes ago?
So I'm standing in front of the Freeman store, and we're actually expecting a press conference from fire and law enforcement here very quickly. So I'm here. I'm going to bring you that as soon as it starts. But in the meantime, I just kind of want to show you where I'm looking at from my vantage point. So we're probably only a few hundred yards away from the entrance to the high school, and I just want to show you how many cars are lining the street. That's because you have basically almost probably every parent in the vicinity here, and they've all conglomerated to the spot. So you can see them. They've overtaken this parking lot right here. They're lining the road here for as far as you can see, all the way down that intersection down there. You can see making that corner and lining. So I've just seen so many parents and grandparents just kind of in a state of shock and panic, kind of walking, honestly, like ghosts up to the high school.
One victim remains here in the school as part of the investigation and has been did pass away.
Up until just a few minutes ago, we hadn't even completely cleared the high school. We were still finding kids hiding in places and trying to remain safe. The high school is now completely cleared.
More and more parents and loved ones of students here are just coming in, and I'm going to show you just coming in, just trying to get more information and figure out where their students are and making sure that everyone they know is safe.
That is a main thoroughfare through that area, so be cautious as you get to that scene and be mindful if you're not impacted by this situation physically. If you don't need to be driving through that area, try to avoid it because we have a lot of parents that are showing up to the schools.
Here's what we know at this point.
We know one student has been killed. Their age and identity has not been released right now. We know that there are 3 children who are in stable condition after being injured. They are at Sacred Heart Medical Center.
As we continue to see this, people who are panicked, we see people comforting what appears to be folks leaving the scene right now.
Students are going to be reunified with their parents at the parking lot nearest that school, coming from the west and leaving from the west. That is designed to keep the high school as with as little congestion as possible.
Video and also a live picture of what's happening right now as parents are reunited with their children. We're rushing to the scene. We saw at some point a traffic jam on Highway 27. So many people, so much law enforcement responding, and then so many people trying to get to the school.
So it sounds like the elementary, middle school students were taken to a different location, evacuation location, as opposed to the high school. Now, for the high school students, if you are a high school parent, you need to come to the Transportation Cooperative parking lot or the bus barn.
So just to give you an idea, if you're unfamiliar with the area, so here on the map you can see this is where Freeman High School is. This is Highway 27. This is where we have seen the long line of cars of people lining up.
As we've mentioned already with our live coverage, a lot of parents coming and going, a lot of concerns on their faces.
I walked right by it. I saw it myself. I kind of laughed, honestly, like, what is happening? Like, this can't be real. Heard 3 gunshots and I just started running. So
did you immediately recognize that they were gunshots?
Yes, because I had seen him holding the gun, but if I hadn't seen him, I would have. It sounded like someone took their binder and slammed it on the ground. Like, that's what it sounded like. So
something that no one should ever have to see, and we're sorry that you went through that. We thank you for taking your time to chat with us now.
Thank you.
We had a highly organized and coordinated response in collaboration with our local first responders, and we have 3 patients who are currently being treated at Sacred Heart.
And they're all doing well. They're stable at this point. One will be requiring some surgery later this afternoon.
It's such a close-knit community, Freeman High School, and it's the kind of place that parents send their kids to school. There are even parents in Spokane who will choice their kids into Freeman High School because it's so safe and such a good education and such a good school, and to have something like this happen is just a tragedy.
We're here now with Elisa and her father, Joe, and Elisa saw a terrible thing unfold today at school. Elisa, first of all, we are so sorry that you had to witness this. Our hearts go out to the parents and the victims. You were just starting your school day today. There was a late start. You are a sophomore.
Freshman.
A freshman, I apologize. How did this unfold for you?
Well, I had gotten to school and I have a locker on the freshman floor, on the 2nd floor, and I was doing my locker and I was about to put my things away, and I just heard a loud pop, and I just looked behind me, and the shooter, he was just walking down the hall very calmly, had a very passive face, and he was just had his pistol and he was shooting, and he shot one boy, and then he shot the ceiling, or in whatever order that goes. And I just remember I crouched down, and the girl next to me, she fell, and she could hear her screaming and screaming and screaming, and I kind of came to, and the hallway was empty, and except for the girl next to me, and it was very dusty because he shot the ceiling, and she had been shot in the back, and I looked to my left, and there's a boy, he had been shot, and on the other side of the hall I saw there's another boy on the other side of the hall, and he had been shot as well. And I looked at it, and I could just see the pistol. It was several feet away from me. And
you mentioned, Elisa, that one of the victims, you actually grabbed her hand and prayed with her?
Yes, I didn't know if it was a fatal wound or not, but I didn't know she had been shot. And so I kind of grabbed her hand, and she was trying to calm me down as well, because I was very scared that it was fatal. And I kind of praying and trying to just figure things out. And one of the teachers came, and he helped helped her with the wound and everything, and when the paramedics came, and my health teacher just directed me to another classroom.
Now, you saw the shooter. Do you know how he was taken down? Did you see that happen?
I was crouched down for a long time. I could hear him walk past me, and I just know that he walked in the hall, and I didn't see exactly what happened. I was very scared, but I'd heard from my classmates, and they kind of alluded to the idea that one of the janitors had kind of apprehended him. He had a pistol and a rifle, and he was kind of just throwing his guns as he went, and I don't know how it happened. I do know it was something to the idea that the janitor, I kind of helped with that.
Joe, as a father, obviously this is a situation that when you have a student in school you hope never happens. I just wonder what your thoughts are today.
I was absolutely horrified when I received a phone call from my sister. I hadn't even been notified that a shooting had taken place, and so I didn't know the state of. I have two daughters. They're one in middle school, and of course Elisa's a freshman in the high school. So as a parent, the worst things run through your mind. But I was grateful several minutes later to receive a phone call from Elisa that she was okay, but under lockdown. So we just came out here immediately.
And to hear that she was so close to the gunman must just be unreal.
It is unreal. It's a sad day here in Freeman for many parents and students. There's not a lot to say. It's been very unfortunate.
Yeah.
Today, that student came to school armed. He entered the school. He proceeded to take his weapons out. At that point, he attempted to fire one weapon. It jammed. He went to his next weapon. A student walked up to him, engaged him, and that student was shot. That student did not survive. He then fired more rounds down the hallway, striking 3 more students.
We're going to cancel school tomorrow, and we're going to make sure that our students and staff and families know that we've got some support services here for them tomorrow and Friday for sure as well. And just if anybody needs anything at all from us, we're available. We're here to help. And would like to just, say that, we're a very close community out here in Freeman, and people pull together, and I know we'll pull together and we'll get through this one. And we just appreciate all the agencies and the local school districts and all the thoughts and prayers from people in the community. Thank you.
We wanted to have an outpouring of support tonight and a show of strength and a show of solitude and prayer, whatever it might be that you wanted to show the Freeman community. So we are hosting a Freeman Strong Candlelight Vigil, and that is tonight, as you've been telling folks about, 7 o'clock, River Park Square Atrium. I have to tell you, I called River Park Square this afternoon and said, is there something we might be able to do? And here's what I'm thinking. And they said to me, we've been talking about it and wondering what we can do here. And so they are providing the space.
And he is now outside the juvenile detention center here in Spokane. Alex, what can you tell us?
We have now confirmed with multiple witnesses, many people close to this investigation, that the shooter this afternoon in the Freeman High School shooting was Caleb Sharp. And that student, now former student, is at Juvenile Justice Center here in Spokane.
We'll be praying for every single person involved in this. Absolutely. We're going to band together as a community.
We all feel the loss, and I just prayers. Everyone pray for these children and their parents. They need it.
It is unreal. It's a sad day here in Freeman for many parents and students.
Tonight we have team coverage of the school shooting from all across the Inland Northwest. We'll bring you the latest from the victims still in the hospital tonight, as well as the suspect, also Tom Sherry and Whitney Ward in the studio. Good evening, everyone. I'm Jane McCarthy.
And I'm Mark Hanrahan. We are live outside of Freeman High School at this hour. It is a much different scene than it was earlier today, starting at around 10:15.
That's when parents were streaming to this school after hearing news of the shooting. Tonight, only investigators remain inside the school, but it is a day that began with gunfire. So we want to recap what we know.
At around 10:15, deputies say the shooter walked into the school. They say he had two guns. Investigators say the first gun he had appears to have jammed or malfunctioned, and at that point he pulled out another gun. At around that time, deputies say another student confronted the suspect and tried to stop him. The gunman, deputies say, shot and killed that student. He then continued shooting, firing and hitting at three more students. Those three victims were rushed to Sacred Heart in Spokane, and if there is any good news in any of this, it's that those three victims are expected to survive. As for how the gunman was stopped, it's not exactly clear, but authorities say it appears a school janitor played a role in either convincing the suspect to surrender or even took him down. That suspect now in juvenile custody tonight. Authorities say he is to blame for killing one person and wounding three others.
Again, the victims here at Sacred Heart ending the night in satisfactory condition. We will keep tabs on their condition all evening long and have the latest on the KREM 2 Morning News, as well as Twitter, Facebook, and KREM.com.
We are also learning more about the suspect himself. We want to let you know right off the bat, we have only named him once this afternoon, and that was intentional.
Yeah, we can tell you that he is a young male student at Freeman, but we are choosing to focus instead on the heroes in this story and the victims.
Yeah, and their names. And that is why we're not showing that suspect's face here right now. We want to be very clear, this is not about protecting that student's identity, that suspect's identity. Instead, it is because this suspect has not been charged yet, and we usually do not show a juvenile suspect's face until they've been charged as an adult.
People packed the atrium at River Park Square. They came together and held a moment of silence. Also, the Valley Real Life Church opened its doors for the community to come together, and the small Fairfield Community Church just south of the school also brought people together tonight.
They packed into the small church and sang, they prayed, and they just embraced one another.
When people walked into River Park Square tonight for the candlelight vigil that started at 7 o'clock, people were visibly shaken. It had been a very long day. People were tired, they were confused, parents had been so scared. This morning when they got the news, students had been through a crisis that's almost unimaginable.
I see the stars.
They prayed for students, teachers, first responders, and their community as they move forward through this tragedy.
Hundreds of people, not just here in the Inland Northwest, but across the country, even around the world, now using the hashtags Freeman Strong and Freeman HS. So it just shows how much support this community has tonight. Much of it coming from places that they just didn't even realize were out there.
When all of this news started to emerge on social media, the prevalent hashtag was Freeman shooting. That tide did change later today, where the hashtag reigned, Freeman Strong.
Appropriate for sure. We also spoke with Spokane County Sheriff Ozzie Knezovich. One last thought from him tonight. Parents, hug your kids tonight.
Reporting from Freeman High School, thanks for joining us. I'm Jane McCarthy alongside Mark Hanrahan. Have a good night.